morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey here on the Daybreak Show. Spencer Hughes, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
We have got a special author in studio here today. Here is the book, and we're going to be talking about The Mouth, the Heat, and a Bus Load of Hippies, our emergency roadside nightmare. The author, Jolene Sladekova, lives in Grapeview now. Hello, welcome.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming on the air and talking with us about this book. So from Arizona to Washington, you went on an adventure that, well, I mean, I wouldn't wish on anybody, really. What on earth? This is like the most amazing series of events that has ever happened for someone trying to move. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll get into the book.
I'm actually a native. I was born in Bremerton.
Okay.
But when I was 2.5, we moved to Arizona, to Tucson, and I pretty much grew up there. But I have moved 41 times in my life, so
Wow.
That's a lot.
I'm quite the gypsy. A lot of it back and forth between Washington and Arizona. But yeah, quite the gypsy and quite the experiences that I get
I bet.
living in different places. And
Why between Washington and Arizona so much? Just
my two favorite states.
Okay.
Arizona's
Yeah.
beautiful, the red rock and everything.
Yeah.
But
Though I'm
you
done
le-
with the heat.
Yeah, you left Arizona for one of the reasons we left California was the heat. The summers were 112, 113 degrees. Couldn't take it.
Oh yeah, I mean I grew up there and I loved it. I would run around barefoot and couldn't wait for it to reach 100. But that was many years ago.
Yeah, then you reach a certain age, you're like, I'm tired.
Now I like
It's not
it,
fun.
in the 60s.
Yeah. 60s, maybe some clouds. JoleneSladekova.com is the website. We'll put links to this, of course, all in the show notes. And so now you're
Okay.
here, you're in Grapeview, and you got in touch with us about this book that you have put out. Again, The Mouth, the Heat, and a Bus Load of Hippies. There are quite some interesting stories as you start this journey. Tell us a brief overview, without giving away too much, on this adventure you had.
Well, it started out as a memoir I was writing, and actually it was the lawyer we were dealing with that encouraged me to write it.
Okay.
He said, in my dealings with him, he says, you have a really nice way of writing, very interesting. He says, and this is a story that needs to be told. You need to write a book.
Yeah.
And since I was pretty much homebound because of my seizures, I had the time to write. So I started writing, and the traumatic events suddenly became, looking back on them, became humorous.
Sure. Kind of cathartic
Because
to write this out.
and as I wrote it, it blew my mind how much we went through.
Yeah. While you're in the moment, it's probably hard to stop down and kind of reflect on all that is happening around you. You're almost in kind of like we're just trying to get to the end at this point.
Oh, yeah. And there was no end.
And it didn't seem like there was end. It was a fast, fun read that, again, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy here of how this adventure transpired. And you mentioned your seizures, and that plays key into a lot of this book here on ways that you were able to, or perhaps not able to, drive your moving vans, and so you had to get some help from some family members who made quite an impression on the readers here. And you mentioned the lawyers too, which law and potential lawsuits play heavily into the end of the book as this moves forward. What are some of the things as you look back on this? I mean, give us a little bit of the overview of this story for folks who want to pick this up.
It began needing to leave the heat of Arizona.
Yeah.
The heat and the scorpions and the
Yeah,
all the things I'd
scorpions.
grown up with, what had outgrown,
Yeah.
and come back to Washington where it was cool and
Just be done with the heat.
oh yeah. And my husband had got a job up here.
Okay.
I mean, I was at the point I couldn't work I used to work in the hospitals and I couldn't work anymore, but he had a job to go to in Puyallup. And so that was it. We put our house on the market, sold the fastest we'd ever sold it on Craigslist
Wow.
Really?
in
Wow.
30 days.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's actually the second house I've sold on Craigslist.
So that works.
It does.
As you're getting ready to plan your trip back to Washington for the final time here, we'll hope, right? Keep you in Grapeview for a while.
We'll see.
Never say never. You quickly realize that you may yourself not be able to drive along with your husband 2 rigs throughout this whole journey, so you bring in his cousin. Is that who it is? Sean?
His cousin, Sean.
And he becomes quite a character. And it seems like though he's
Oh,
been
yeah.
the character his whole life.
Yes,
I think we all have a
and we
relative
kind
like
we,
Sean. That
I think
tries
everybody
this
has a Sean in their life. Yeah.
And it was almost as if he was his own herd of cats that you were trying to corral through this adventure.
Yes. So it wasn't just the heat and what we were going through with the truck. It was Sean.
Yes. How does he take a book like this? Has he seen it? Has he read it?
He doesn't know.
Oh, that makes it even better.
I was
And
thinking
I've-
she must have changed the name or something.
Sure.
Oh yeah, all the names have been changed. Yeah, and characters have been changed. So what started as a memoir became a work of fiction,
Yeah.
literary fiction, because of changing the names.
Uh-huh.
But it's still based on reality.
Wow. I mean, you just ran into problem after problem after problem with the rental agency, and the truck seemed to break down every 3 minutes, and it was.
And
was
the
there,
mouth wouldn't stop. And
was there a point in the time where you're just like, well, wherever you were, let's stop here. Let's just be done.
oh yeah.
Let's figure out how we're going to live here, because I cannot handle any more of this travel.
That happened a few times. Once we got through Nevada.
Yeah.
Once we got out of the desert. Yeah.
And that's what was frustrating, even as a reader, is that we all know these trips that should only take, let's say, 4 hours, but take 7 or 8 or 12 or 16 hours because of these unforeseen things, or operator error or driver error in this case.
Yeah. Yes.
How long did it take you to write all this down and have it into a book like this?
Well, I had the notes from
Yeah.
the trip that I dealt with the lawyer.
Uh-huh.
And notes I had emailed to friends along the way. So I went back through all that and gathering, and notes that Sean himself had.
Uh-huh.
So I got those notes from him, and I worked on it probably 3 years.
Okay. And then the process after that. Talk to me a little bit about the publishing process.
Oh, wow. Well, that is all like very, very. I mean, I've written things through my life, never a published novel, but publishing and doing it indie publishing has been a challenge,
So
especially since I'm not computer techie, and to be an author, published author, now you got to be.
So how does this work? You write your manuscript, and then you would upload it to My Bohemian Heart Publications or whatever, and they...
Yeah, I made my own publishing
Okay,
company.
so you're your own publisher.
And I have a friend who is a high school English teacher in Belfair, and she said she directs all her writers to Gorham Printing
Okay.
in Centralia. So that's who I went to.
Huh.
I checked different places, and they seemed the best, and
So they're
they
the
were
ones
close. And
that edit it?
No,
Or they
no.
just book it?
they just
bind it?
they just did the printing. So I had
Okay.
to do the formatting of the book according to their specs,
Wow.
and
It's
then
a nice format. I like how it
emailed
feels
to
in
it.
the hand.
And
Looks
they,
good.
so me publishing through them, printing through them, I chose the cover and paper type,
Uh-huh.
and it's a really nice.
Yeah. No, it's a real
Paper
nice
is really soft. It's easy to read. The cover's nice.
I love the cover. Who designed the cover?
They have a cover designer there,
Oh.
and I worked with her. So it was my ideas and her skills.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, she did a great job. I
you-
figured if people didn't like the book, they'd at least like the cover.
Well, it was a fast and fun read as we followed along with your journey here. One of the stranger portions of this is as you are on your way and you come around the backside of a building, and you find yourself in front of a bunch of passed away sheep, and I thought that was just such a bizarre part of the story, especially to kind of be in the Nevada desert, and then you got
And the
Area
location.
51, you got the
Yeah.
UFOs. Were you ever able to determine what had happened at that?
No, never found out. I just know it was
A lot.
hair raising.
Uh-huh. What's the
Not-
response been like on the book?
Really good, really good. I have a lot of good reviews on my website, and
Yep.
a lot more that people have told me that haven't been put in writing, but
That's the place to get it at JoleneSladekova.com. We'll put the links here as well to pick up a copy of this great read.
I also do events, and the events are listed on my website, and so you can get a copy at an event. I'm going to be heading to Arizona for a book tour. I got it.
You're going to be able to get back?
Well, we were discussing should we take the same route just to see
Yeah.
if anything happens.
Sean's calling right now. He says that he'd like to
He's
volunteer.
ready
No?
to. He's
Mine
ready
is
to
Sean.
help.
Mine is Sean.
He's ready to help however he can.
But we will have our dogs with us, so that's the same.
Come backing in May at Half Price Books, a book signing there, and Bent Bind. There's going to be the Bind Fest coming up, so you'll be
Yeah.
at that one as well.
And I'm actually this Friday. I'm at Bent Bind
Oh, okay.
for just a book signing.
Sure. That's a great place.
Yeah.
A great local place there.
It is, and they're my friends that own it.
Wow,
Makes it even
Been
better.
friends over 20 years, so yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
fantastic.
Again, it was a fascinating read. We'll put the link to your Facebook profile as well here
Cool.
when we do this. Would you want to, or could you read a passage for me that you find the most compelling for the listeners here today that want to get you going?
Sure. Maybe I'll read the part we talked about.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, this is in chapter 9, which is the Twilight Zone.
Sure.
As the fine hair stood up rigid over my entire body, and with my morbid curiosity now piqued, I stood slowly, taking a closer look around me while quickly getting all of my lower apparel back up where they belong. The farther I looked, the freakier the sight became. I experienced a strong prickle of fear and dread run down my spine and back up again, sending icicles into my bones. I imagined that if I could see my reflection, I would see all 2 to 3 inches of my short salt and pepper hair on my head standing at attention, much like an infantry in front of their master sergeant. Right after I got back on the road, still heading north on Highway 93, I noticed a crossroad. Squinting to read the sign, I was able to make out what it said. It was a sign for Highway 375, the extraterrestrial highway. Oh my. This means that I am not very far from the infamous Area 51. That I am in the vicinity where bizarre things take place. I could once again feel my heart rate getting faster and my breathing becoming shallower as my imagination was now completely out of control. I've heard stories and rumors, read books, and seen enough shows of strange things happening around this area, and now I have just experienced it myself. Of course, they're going to have to read it to find out
Of
what
course they will.
exactly
Of course they will.
or Jana. The character is Jana Behringer, based on me.
The name of the book is The Mouth, the Heat, and a Bus Load of Hippies, and they all play prominently in different portions of this book. The Emergency Roadside Nightmare. Were you surprised on your travels how little phone access you had? I mean, there were times when you went through for, it seemed like, quite a ways trying to get in touch with people. I know your husband was on the phone with the...
Oh, he was in touch. I mean, the calls would get dropped at times,
Yeah.
but for the most part, he was on hold.
Just on hold the whole time.
He was put on hold.
And you had a number at the end of the book about how many hours.
24.
Was it a full 24?
24 full. Yeah, when we went through the phone records and added it all up. And that was just his phone.
Yeah.
That didn't count Sean's phone when he was on the phone dealing with it, the calls I made. Yeah.
So would you encourage someone to make a move like this themselves, by themselves, or to hire a professional moving company?
Depends on if they want to write a book.
That's the case. That's it.
Do you have another one planned, or what?
Oh,
after
yeah.
This experience,
Oh,
yeah?
Jana Behringer stories will continue.
Very
Oh,
cool.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to reading more and talking with you more. Again, you can see and meet her on Saturday night. It's
Yeah.
at the Bent Bind Brewery, as you mentioned, from 5 to 7, meet and greet with some purchasing of signed copies of the book. And, of course, it's always a good time at the Bent Bind Brewery. We'll put the links to the website, to the Facebook page, and to how we can get people to purchase your book. Again, JoleneSladekova.com. Living now in Grapeview, and good, nice, quiet little burg.
Oh, yeah.
You know, no
That
issues.
was the point of it.
That was it. It was nice to meet you and talk with you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
yeah.
Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for
Thanks.